All right. Greetings and welcome to the Hawkeye Rising YouTube channel. This is Clint, your host and your Hawkeye. Okay, what is it? It is Sunday evening. And earlier today we had a brilliant. Got to jump in with Eric Triple. Well, just in the chat. Wasn't able to join with video for some reason, but thanks for the invite, Eric. I really appreciate that. Good to see Johnny on there too. And then on immediately after, on Johnny's Odyssey, we had our flipping tables. So essentially a team brief that just happens to be on the day of the sun. Okay, what I'm having issues is I'm not able to share my screen, so bear with me until I get that figured out. I had that happen before, and I don't know settings. Something's going on, and anyway, so I'm going to be reading a couple items. So again, bear with me. You'll be seeing my my face, yeah, man. Just like I would say, remember, if it's on a screen, it's Jesuit theater. So Jesuit Theater 101. A name that came up in today's stream, flipping tables, Henrietta Mears, mentor of Billy Corgan, Billy Graham. I compiled some information. Okay, so obviously here we are on a screen that I cannot share at the moment. And this email was sent to the CAP on back in August 2018. This is just from, and links will be in the description box below. So we'll see how many citations I get through. I'll try and keep this relatively brief, but this is an important. Okay, so yeah, why is this an important subject? Well, how about the source? Who watches the Watchmen? Who mentored Billy Graham? I know there was a couple names or one particular name that came up as well today, and I can't think of it. I don't have those notes ready, but what I did want to jump in with was Henrietta Mears. Henrietta Cornelia Mears, born 23 October 1890. And of course, you see October 23, it should be the same response as when you see April 19th. There's an automatic connection to the Jesuit Superior General, the first Jesuit Superior General, Ignatius Loyola. October 23rd is Ignatius Loyola's birthday. 1491, I believe it was, 23 October. This is the date we're essentially given in the Christopher Clavius Jesuit Gregorian calendar date we're given. So Henrietta Cornelia Mears, born 23 October 1890, was Christian, grains of salt here, Christian educator, evangelist, and author who had had a significant impact on evangelical Christianity in the 20th century and one of the founders of the National Sunday School Association. National Sunday School Association. So remember, our understanding, belief, stance here, the United States is the beast, is the Revelation 13's beast out of the earth. We've spoke about this many times. Empowered by the beast out of the sea, Rome. Okay, and of course, which inevitably brings us to 18th Jesuit Superior General Lorenzo Ricci, unknown founding father of America. And America founded it to be the sword arm for Rome, a nation with the so-called freedom of religion, a land that the Jesuits would never be kicked out of. Okay, let's continue. Best known as the innovative and dynamic. Already we're getting into the Jesuitic pedagogic. I get this word. Pedagogical techniques of the Jesuit order. So the innovative and dynamic director of Christian education at First Presbyterian Church of Hollywood, California, and in charge of the college and young adult people in the mid-1900s. She built a dedicated, enthusiastic staff, trained and mentored her teachers, and implemented a graded, age-appropriate curriculum from cradle roll to adults, and profoundly impacted the ministries of Bill Bright, which you'll recognize the name for Campus Crusade for Christ. So Bill Bright and Vonette Zachary Bright, Jim Rayburn, Young Life, and Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, and Lewis Evans Jr., who was the organizing pastor of Bel Air Church, where Ronald Reagan and many other stars attended, and led the congregation of the National Presbyterian Church, Washington, D.C., with her emphasis on Scripture and a clear gospel message for young people. Okay, grains of salt. Mears is believed by many theologians to have most directly shaped Bill Bright's 4 spiritual laws. Okay, we're familiar with those, which define modern evangelism in the 20th century. I'm just going to check yep, I'm recording. Good. Again, I apologize. I cannot share these screens with you. I'm just going to take... Yep, still getting used to this. Talking to a... All right, I'm just looking at... Oh, Ronald Reagan and John Paul, Pope St. John Paul II. One moment, my next citation. Yeah, here we go. We go back to January 31st, 2019 email, writing to Cap and George. So George mentioned, so obviously referring to a team brief back in the beginning of 2019. George mentioned Ronald Reagan attending First Presbyterian Church of Hollywood, California during last Friday's brief, which connects to Henrietta Mears, the mother of Sunday school and the grandmother of modern evangelicalism. Okay, remembering her date, October 23rd, 1890. Mears is noted below in the Google book links at about 23 years of age. Okay, so this is gleaned information from multiple sources. Again, I will post links in the description box. Remember, names, places, and dates. Explore these at your leisure if this is of any interest to you. This is important because of any Sunday school curriculum, what became known. There's the movement of what would become Billy Graham, which would be, I have a date. We'll get to that. I believe it was September 13th, 1947 was Graham's first, I don't know if it was a Big Ten meeting. We'll get to that. Mears is noted below in the Google book links at about 23 years of age, was visited, and I make a side note, a Fulton Sheen-esque style meeting as Billy Graham received on the night train to, I don't have a date for that, but that was back just before the ascension of Graham into the spotlight. There was the late night pajama party on a night train between Fulton Sheen and Billy Graham. Mears was visited by an unnamed Catholic priest, and shortly after briefly courted by an unnamed Harvard University graduate around 1913 during her time in Beardsley, Minnesota. Ronald Reagan just tutored and mentored by Mears. Henrietta was a teacher from Minneapolis who in her 40s became the director of Christian education at Hollywood Presbyterian Church. It was there that she had a significant impact on Bill Bright, founder of Campus Crusade for Christ, which we covered, Dawson Trotman, Founder of the Navigators, Billy Graham, Ronald Reagan, who was a Hollywood movie star at that time, and others, as she taught them the scriptures. I wonder, from the Dewey Rhymes, from the 1611 authorized King KJV, literally hundreds of men and women came out of her Sunday school program into full-time. Apologies, all the oohs and ahs reminded me of Trudeau. Okay, came out of her Sunday school program into the full-time. I know I've joked about that before. All right. That's including, full-time Christian service, including First Presbyterian Hollywood's Lewis Evan senior son. Okay, Lewis H. Evans Jr., who became the organizing pastor of Bel Air Presbyterian Church. Bill Bright and his wife, a founder of Campus Crusade for Christ. So this is just confirming other citations that have been worked out of Henrietta's house for 10 years. Billy Graham, Reverend L. David Cowie, pastor of University Presbyterian Church in Seattle, Washington. We have Don Muma, a UCLA All-American football player in 1951, who later became Ronald Reagan's pastor at Bel Air. So we have a American football connection. That's not my forte. That's Johnny the Caps specialty. Frederick Dale Bruner, a biblical scholar best known for his commentaries on Matthew and John. Having other people tell you what the scriptures say. Okay, the Reverend Louis H. Evans Jr., the organizing pastor of Bel Air Presbyterian Church, who went on to lead the congregation of the National Presbyterian Church in Washington, D.C., where Ronald Reagan worshipped while he was president. Died, he was 82. Okay. This from Christianity Today, 1996 article. Henrietta Mears has been called the mother of Sunday school. Her revolution... Okay, here we go again. Her revolutionary teaching methods, adding lively pictures and implementing grade levels, changed the landscape of Christian education in her day, and her imprimatur remains on today's models for curriculum. But I like to think of her as more as the grandmother, quote unquote, of modern evangelicalism. Her vision for the Christian life inspired a generation of young leaders who, in turn, inspired my generation. So this is Wendy Murray Zoba, the author of this Christianity Today article. Wendy continues, she has the perfect pedigree to be the grandmother of evangelicalism. She accepted Christ consciously, dutifully, and single-mindedly at the age of 7 and never wavered. Give us the boy until he is 7, and we'll give you the man. We buggered the child. We give you the adult. She sacrificed the non-Christian. Oh yeah, that probably sounds bad if I leave it at that. She sacrificed the okay, let me just get the context of this. She sacrificed the unnamed. Okay, the love of her life for the gospel. So apparently there was a significant. One moment. Oh, God, I got to give up smoking. Just kidding. If you smoke, cut that shit. Okay. She sacrificed. So this Christian relationship, an unnamed Harvard University graduate, the love of her life for the gospel. She had an unquenchable passion for Sunday school, and she wore goofy hats. What an interesting comment to punctuate that. JudyDouglas.com. We have a 2013 article. Billy Graham was greatly changed through his contact with Miss Mears, calling her one of the greatest influences in his life. The Hollywood Christian group aided Graham's ministry and touched the lives of numerous actors, including the 40th President of the United States, Ronald Wilson Reagan. Remember, reconnecting the and it was mentioned today earlier in the brief. Billy Graham whispering in Reagan's ear, reconnecting the broken diplomatic ties between America and the Vatican, January 10th, 1984. And the reason those diplomatic ties were severed, the Vatican being found to be behind the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. 1860, April 14th, 15th, I think it was 1865. So do the math. And again, below the surface, just because on the surface, the ties were severed, the infiltration's already been made. Just like this pap about the hot air balloon fiasco now with Chinese surveillance, however many balloons, one over wherever it is, and another a little further south. Who owns China? Where did the Jesuits go in the 1500s? Immediately after Regimini Militante Ecclesia, the papal bull that literally began September 27th, 1540. Okay, good. Hold on. I'm still there. The camera just shuts off at 30 minutes. Okay, we're only 16. Okay, good. Anyway, we're good. We're good to go for another few minutes. Okay, we'll continue this on. Okay, and what was I saying? Okay, Jesuits, China. Who gave China its calendar? Roughly around the exact same time, the Gregory the 13th instituted the Gregorian calendar, October 4th, 1582. The Jesuit Christopher Clavius created Gregorian calendar. We have full Jesuit infiltration of China, which began with Matteo Ricci. Xavier, we know that, well, again, our the history we're given, Xavier made it to a couple feet of the border of China and fell to his death in some shape or form, and some of his relics, like his severed arm, ended up crossing Canada recently, 2018 or 19. It's a whole other... Oh, speaking of which, Doc wrote a brilliant article on relics. You can post that in the description box as well. Okay, let's continue with Henrietta Mears. Okay, back to the calendar though. We've discussed this before. The uncredited source of the Marvel comic universe, Thanos Gauntlet, has the uncredited source being Saint Teresa of Jesus or Saint Teresa of Avila. So literally the day she died, so October 4th. There's also a Francis of Assisi connection here too. So the day that she died, October 4th, 1582, the Gregorian calendar was instituted, and the 4th instantly jumped ahead to the 15th. So who owns the time stone? Rome. Not only that, but in 1600, okay, I'll look this up because I want to get this right. I think it was 1622. Teresa of Avila, Gregory the 15th. Yeah, March 12th, March 1622. She was canonized along with Xavier and Loyola. Yeah, by Gregory the 15th. I have that in memory, but I just wanted to confirm because I don't want to get that wrong. Okay. So we just have this. So Mears, same birthday as Loyola, Sun Tzu and Drumbeat. That's my perspective, which I freely give to you. Those that I love and have not met you in face to face, but I love you, and that's what motivates. Yeah. Why go? Well, yes. There's my personal study, but why even share something like this? I think I've shared before. Standing in front of a camera or even speaking into a microphone. This is not my thing, not my forte. It's very uncomfortable, but I'll endure this because somebody, at least one person, if you can take something from this and run with it. And I like something that hasn't been mentioned in a long time. I think it was one of an early Johnny Resistance Rising podcast. It was just the audio. Create his desires not to create an army of followers, but to create an army of generals. How powerful is that? And thus the Christian life, ideally the Christian life. Every single individual, one is their own contained temple, indwelt by the Holy Spirit, personally responsible. You don't take a mini pilgrimage, go and turn your soul and you turn your brain off and turn your soul and heart and spirit over to some man or some woman. No, you do. You are responsible to do your own work, to worship in spirit and in truth. And if this is not, yeah, we don't have to align on core beliefs, but there's something here that I think we can all easily agree with. Do the work. You are personally responsible, one, for your soul, for your health, for your well-being, as it has been brought up before, for your, if you have a family, you are responsible for them until your young are old enough to take care of themselves, but with the skills that you have, literally like seeds planted in, and they can become self-sufficient. And then the roles change. Okay, I know I'm getting away from Mears. All right. Patheos.com. This is a 2014 article. Hollywood Presbyterian was a central hub in the booming post-World War II evangelical network in Southern California. That's back to the idea of what projected Graham's popularity was built on what was gleaned, what was learned, what was implemented in Hitler's Germany. What would be the word? Not an emphatic, but the kind of orator that Hitler was. And I remember studying, just as a public speaker in like grade 10 English in high school, how one man swayed a population. Okay, let's go back to this Patheos.com article. Okay, especially prior to the mid-1950s divorce of the new evangelicals from their more fundamentalist brethren. We also remember this is also leading up to Vatican II, 1963 to 65. So clearly Rome having to re-exert. Okay, if we can, with the premise that there's no organic movement, everything is scripted, and movements that do have some kind of organic semblance are quickly infiltrated and controlled and eventually steered and brought to bent to Rome's will, essentially. Okay, so Mears was part of a large and broad coalition. She sent her boys to study for the ministry at Princeton Theological Seminary, and she held a doctorate from Bob Jones University. That would be unimaginable in 1960. Okay, she reached beyond conservative evangelical circles to invite speakers such as Princeton Seminary President John McKay and the German pastor of Helmut I don't know how to pronounce. I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Thieleke. She also brought to Forest Homes strident dispensationalists like Robert Thiem of Baracha Church in Houston, and Keswick-style speakers such as Ian Thomas of the Torchbearers. Most famously, Billy Graham resolved his doubts at Forest Home. So Forest Home, just from memory, it was a place, I think, created by Mears, which had to do with retreats. Forest Home, about the authority of the Bible, while at the 1949 college briefing conference prior to the Los Angeles crusade that catapulted him into the national limelight. I do cite a Bill Bright interview with that's posted on the Wheaton.edu archive page. Again, I'll put this in the links below. Okay, another pathos.com 2013 article. After she moved to Hollywood Presbyterian Church in 1929, she attracted not only the young people of its congregation, but a host of men and women from local colleges like UCLA. She tutored many of the mid to late 20th century's most influential Presbyterian evangelicals. So Richard Halverson, Don Muma, and Bill Bright, just to name a few. There is another list. A significant part of her influence in ministry was through the lives of those young people she mentored and discipled. So Bill and Vanette Bright, so back to Campus Crusade for Christ, Dawson Trotman, Jim Rayburn, Richard Halverson, Ronald Reagan, Billy Graham. Okay, of course. So these names keep coming up that were mentored or handled by Henrietta Mears. Beautiful woman, single, who wore, what did it say? Funny hats. Yeah, I bet she had a hat. All right. Gospellight.com. In 1928, Miss Mears accepted a position to become the director of Christian education at the First Presbyterian Church of Hollywood, California. I think I mentioned in the brief earlier today, there's an article I came across. There's a connection. There's a Freemasonic link. Okay, I'll have to remember to read that while I'm here. So I'm just going to Roman increase. Okay, so it's just the exponential growth of her Sunday school from 450 to over 4,000, and would eventually even increase past 6,000. So booming Sunday school. Soon, the Christian education facilities of the church became a major focus of the church leadership. Yeah, of course it did. You brainwash the young. No, you give us a child for 7 years, and we'll give you we'll bugger them, and we'll give you the man. 3 education buildings were built, and literally thousands of students, young and old, were reached with the gospel, and encouraged in their faith due primarily to the vision of this woman called and empowered by God. And this reminds me of Billy Graham. There was you can find it on YouTube somewhere. How his for Easter, there's a message, whatever year, the Easter message that he recorded in his passionate and emphatic and punctuated movements. I want you to believe. I want you to this. I want you to that. But what Jesus did he preach? The Jesus that was crucified on Friday and was resurrected Sunday morning. What? Okay, I don't have the address. What did Jesus say after being asked for a sign by the I believe it was the Pharisees, the particular elders? Give us a sign. Give us a sign. And what was Jesus's response? A wicked and adulterous generation asks for a sign, but not only given it, except the sign of Jonah. For as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of a whale, so the Son of Man will be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. Anyway, just saying, what Jesus did Graham preach and teach? To me, this is very significant. And this is consequently, like, every church in at Easter time preaches this Jesus. Plays are written around this. This is what children learn. And it comes down to what is essentially just like Christmas. It's tradition that's being passed on, and truth is being railroaded. Okay. Biola.edu by Richard L. Leda. Mears came from a rich spiritual heritage that can be traced back at least 5 generations on her mother's side. Particularly influential were her maternal grandparents. Her grandfather, Dr. W. Everts, had been the prominent pastor of churches, including the First Baptist Church of Chicago. So red flag being, so there's a Baptist connection, and then also Chicago. Upon reading the biography of her grandmother, she said, "I'm amazed to see how many of my own policies and beliefs trace back to my grandmother. The same thinking, the same ideas and approach. She taught them to my mother, and I was almost unconsciously reared on these same precepts." Her father, E. Ashley Mears, had substantial wealth, owing more than 20 banks located. So we had the banks there, 20 banks located in the Dakotas. He was known for his optimism, humor, clear sense of vision, and an extraordinary capacity to train people, traits that Henrietta acquired. Sounds like community organizing. Mears' family belonged to the First Baptist Church in Minneapolis, where they would often entertain such renowned Christian leaders such as W. Graham Scroggie, G. Campbell Morgan, and R.A. Torrey. I haven't researched these names, or it's been a couple of years, so I can't off the top of my head tell you who these are, but we have the names at least. Who greatly influenced the young girl. Her pastor, W.B. Riley, was a leader in the fundamentalist movement, and his dispensational understanding of theology and belief in the inerrancy of Scripture, are consistent with Henrietta's later teaching and writing. Yeah. Okay, jumping down, a reference to an unnamed Catholic priest visitation and an unnamed Harvard University suitor circa 1913. Okay, so in Dream Big, the Henrietta Mears story, I have a citation. So the young Catholic priest in the town came over to see her, Henrietta, at the high school on several occasions. So she was personally singled out, it looks like, to talk with her and to see if there was anything he could do to help. He said it was amazing that she had been able to accomplish what she was able to accomplish with young people, and that the town would be filled with undying gratitude for her achievements. They had long, interesting talks on spiritual matters. It was a crisp October night, maybe it was her birthday, October 23rd, with the first hint of frost in the air, and the harvest moon was hanging low. A group of teachers went out into the country to attend a corn husking party in one of the big red Minnesota barns. Or what if that was a Samhain ritual? While there, Miss Mears was introduced to a handsome young man, a Harvard graduate, whose parents owned the hotel. And a separate email, I do have, I believe, the name and a photograph of the hotel. Mears creates church school literature, founds Gospel Light Press, and publishes teaching material according to her own doctrinal expectations, and sells her work. She also founded the National Sunday School Association in the 1930s and had significant influence of the revival of the Sunday school concept. That's a citation from an Encyclopedia of American Women and Religion. Mears became the preeminent Sunday school curriculum developer in the 1930s. At a time when many thought the Sunday school was a dying institution. So again, turning your children over for somebody else to indoctrinate. She reignited its popularity by developing quality Sunday school teachers, maintaining complete curricula for all ages, and using cutting-edge technology. Athanasius Kircher's Magic Lantern. As Christian education director at Hollywood Presbyterian Church, Mears helped their Sunday school grow from just over 400 to more than 6,000 in her first decade of ministry. Okay, Gospel Light Press. Henrietta Mears purchased a resort in the San Bernardino Mountains in Southern California and founded the Forest Home Christian Conference Center in 1938. Whenever I see Forest Home, I always think of close to where I grew up. There was, I want to say Forest Home. It was a cemetery chain, I think. Forest Home Christian Conference Center, where Billy Graham overcame his doubt. There's a link. I sense the presence of the power of God. I have not sensed it in months. Not all my questions were answered, but I knew a spiritual battle in my soul had been fought and won. It was Billy Graham at the Forest Home. Top of school. Okay. Banking was the occupation of Henrietta Mears' father. Family. One of his uncles founded the First National Bank of Philadelphia. So Henrietta Mears' father, E. Ashley Mears, one of his uncles, don't have a name at the moment, but founded the First National Bank of Philadelphia, and another uncle founded the First National Bank of St. Paul. That's from an article, the WatchmanAwakes.org, the grandmother of the apostate church. Okay, so somebody who's obviously questioning who this woman is. In March of 1926, she met Dr. Stuart P. McLennan, pastor of the First Presbyterian Church of Hollywood, California, who had come to preach in her church. She found an exciting ministry there with great potential. She finally sensed God's call and accepted the position of director of Christian education in the fall of 1928. First Presbyterian Church of Hollywood was, here we go, it was founded at a Masonic hall. And I'm hoping I'll have a name for you. According to a little piece of history, 1903. Okay. So there's either an article, a little piece of history in 1903, FP, Free Presbyterian Church, was founded in Masonic Hall. So December 20th, 1903, at 11 a.m., a group of 20... Okay, let's start this again. On December 20th, 1903, at 11 a.m., a group, and this is a citation, a group of 25 men and women gather in an upstairs room. So we have an upstairs room, not a basement, sorry. Upstairs room at the Masonic Hall on Highland Avenue to organize what we lovingly know today as the First Presbyterian Church of Hollywood. Reverend Dr. H.A. Newell is the founder and pastor of these, with these 25 charter members. Dr. Newell makes a great many house visits during his this first year. One calculation estimates 1,500 visits, resulting in him wearing out a buggy and one set of horse harnesses. Busy man. Dr. Newell remained our pastor until 1909, passing away in June 1910. So Jack MacArthur met Billy Graham. Okay, let me just check. I just want to... Okay, almost 40 minutes. Oh my goodness. Wow. One moment. Thank you for bearing with me. I hope, again, I'm glad I have this at least somewhat documented to share. Jack MacArthur met with Billy Graham at the FHPC in 1951. John MacArthur's father, Jack met with Billy Graham. I have Freemason at the church in 1951. So yeah, click here to view 2 pictures of the meeting. Okay. I do have a photograph of Beardsley, Minnesota, Hartford Beach Hotel, Catholic Church in Beardsley. A photo of Mears. Interesting looking chica. Let's see if we can glean. Okay, I have another article. Okay, so this is Henrietta Mears, 1951. We have a great mission field in Hollywood. Hollywood is the most ideal spot on earth to build a large and spiritual youth work, but God has seen fit to make it so. He has planted the largest Presbyterian Sunday school in America. We believe that men and women will say, as they look upon this modern miracle of this great Sunday school in the heart of the city of make-believe, if it can be done in Hollywood, it can be done anywhere. That's Henrietta Mears, 1951. I have Dr. Newell tells the story of the foundation of, what's the name? The Presbyterian Church of Hollywood was born in prayer. So Dr. Newell tells a story. There being no public hall or assembly room in the place suitable for public gatherings, a room known as the Masonic Hall was secured as a place in which to organize and hold worship. A public meeting in this hall was held on December 20th, 1903. Dr. W.M.B. Noble preached a sermon, after which the Presbyterial Committee received from those present the petition, to which were appended 23 names. Being found in order, the committee proceeded to organize the church. So again, out of a Masonic hall. And for those that familiar with some of my content, I recently published the potential Freemasonic source of Billy Corgan. So my guitar hero. It created a 20-minute piece that basically arrived at more questions than answers while giving answers, because he clearly bears the Freemasonic, so the square and compass with the G on his chest. And yes, entertainment, Jesuit theater 101. We're looking at characters. We're looking at persona. We're looking at what's given to the public, the veneer, or this mask and costume that's put on to present to the public. But behind the mask, there's clearly a story which I tried to explore, and that has to do with, trauma. So the creation of an artist with a specific message based on trauma, or that resulted from trauma, just like earlier today in the brief, Ted Kaczynski at the hands of Henry Murray at Harvard University. You can critically examine Ted Kaczynski as the Unabomber and what he did, how he lived with a windowless cabin in the woods that he built as a recluse. But what kind of trauma was he subjected to that led to his behavior in his adult life? And it's very disturbing what was done to him at Harvard under the not tutelage, but the testing of Henry Murray. Okay. Just want to make sure, Doctor. Okay, I don't want. How much further do I want to beat this horse? Okay, I will share. Okay, and then I present. So Billy Graham's first crusade in 1947. And I posit this as Hitler's polar opposite. This is from a November 2019 email I composed. So World War II, as listed, ended September 2nd, 1945. And we remember September 3rd being the anniversary date of Loyola presenting the formula to Paul III, and September 3rd, 1539 being the anniversary day given for Paul III's declaration, whatever it was in Latin. But essentially, this is the finger stroke of God, which Tupper Saucy, Jesuit short robe and Freemason, based an entire chapter in his book Rulers of Evil, Useful Knowledge About Governing Bodies. Okay, Billy Graham's First Crusade, 47. So Hitler's polar opposite. World War II ended September 2nd, 1945. Hitler's death is listed as April 30th, 1945. We know that Hitler also, his birthday was, I think it was April, was listed as April 20th. So very close to the April 19th. So Billy Graham's Crusades began September 13th. There is a Jesuit, I believe a Jesuit general date connection there. I won't go down that rabbit hole at the moment, but just want to note that September 13th. I'm thinking Pedro Rupe, but don't quote me on that. I haven't gone too far into this, but I'm thinking what was learned in, here we go. So as I've stated it then, learned in Germany. So Hitler's ability to mesmerize the population with speech, etc., was practiced and applied by Billy Graham, meaning Billy was controlled from the beginning, considering his tutelage from Henrietta Mears, the grandmother of evangelicalism. So Billy Graham, not an organic business movement. How many okay, just turning the camera back on. Come on. Oh my goodness. Okay, here we still got my voice. Why am I? Well then, okay, since we're wrapping this up, okay, between 1947 and, okay, and it's a good thing we're coming to a close. Between 1947 and 2005, Billy Graham preached to more than 200 million people across North America, Europe, Asia, Latin America, and Africa. Millions more watched live on television and radio, known as crusades. The gatherings in stadiums, sports arenas, and large open-air parks represented the tip of an organizational iceberg. It took years of planning before the events, so the Billy Graham's Crusades, and months to follow up after the events took. I'll read that again. It took years of planning. Okay, and this, I believe, this was a transcribed citation from. Let's hope this YouTube link is still good. This was a breakdown or a study on the Crusades. Okay, so it took years of planning before the events and months to follow up after the events took place. The Crusades shaped the face of evangelical Christianity in the 20th century, served as a catalyst for numerous parachurch organizations, influenced global ecumenical efforts. Okay, a key word, global and ecumenical, of course, bringing all under the subject of what it doesn't tell you, all under the subject of Rome, the great harlot, the mother, efforts, and altered the course of untold individual lives. So that's narration taken from A Gathering of Souls, the Billy Graham Crusades. The Billy Graham Crusades were the centerpiece of a massive movement to project the gospel. What it represents is a concert of people focused on accomplishing one thing. We have the media, which I added Miranda Procis and Intermerifica. So we have the Vatican II responses to how media, how the use of media will shape how the church would use the power of media to essentially steer the crowd. Let's see if I can. No, I don't want to spend time. Okay. We have organization of prayer. We have organization of prayer of local church groups, and an advertising blitz that was not unprecedented but unparalleled in the history of evangelicalism, and that's Grant Wacker, PhD, Duke Divinity School. Okay, I think I will add links in the box below. Thank you very much for joining me for this 50-minute, oh my goodness, 50 minutes of, okay. Anyway, thank you for being here. And until next time, this is your Hawkeye. Sending much love. Thank you for, and again, just thank you if you're new here. I really appreciate you sticking it out and even subscribing, liking this stuff. And again, just wow, the fact that just over 238 subscribers. If you want to, thank you very much. Whatever inspired you to hit subscribe, I appreciate it. All right, until next time, this is your Hawkeye.